Hello, my name is Gavin, this is Genre Books, and today I want to talk about some horrid novels. This is not my phrase, this is Jane Austen's phrase. Specifically, this is Catherine Morland's phrase from Northanger Abbey when she is describing some books which haven't really stood the test of time. 7 horrid novels which some thought had been made up, many out of print for decades or centuries. Some early Gothic novels which have largely been forgotten. The Castle of Wolfenbach by Eliza Parsons, The Necromancer or The Tale of the Black Forest by Ludwig Flammenberg, The Mysterious Warning, a German tale by Eliza Parsons, Horrid Mysteries by the Marquis de Grosse, Clermont, a tale by Regina Maria Roche, The Midnight Bell by Francis Latham, and Orphan of the Rhine by Eleanor Sleath. Early sensationalist works showing those dark European continental vistas with their foreboding castles and wicked relatives. So in this 250th anniversary of Jane Austen, these are the books I want to read. And I've got one under my belt. This was a buddy read in May, tangentially part of Horror Mayhem, with Kat from Cat Jack's Cabinet of Curiosities, a commentator par excellence. And we started with The Castle of Wolfenbach by Eliza Parsons. Eliza Parsons was born in 1739, educated, married and well off, and then things went wrong. She became impoverished. Her eldest son in the army died in Jamaica. The family business burnt down. On the stress of these events, her husband had a series of strokes and died. Parsons needed to support her remaining children, so she turned to writing. By this point she's in her 50s, but over the next 17 years produces 19 novels. This helped alleviate the situation, but didn't always quite keep the wolves from the door. She is one of the first beneficiaries of the Royal Literary Fund. This was a benevolent fund set up for published writers in financial distress. The type of novel she decided to write was what was fashionable in the 1790s, Gothic literature. Anne Radcliffe with The Mysteries of Udolpho loomed large, and hopefully I might get a chance to squeeze that massive book in as well this year, because that also does get a name check in Northanger Abbey, as well as, I think, the Italian. The Castle of Wolfenbach is Eliza Parsons' second novel. This work really is of two halves, literally and metaphorically. It's in 2 volumes, and there are distinct tones or distinct shifts between one volume and the next. The Gothic elements are definitely more loaded towards the beginning of this novel. The castle itself, ghosts haunting, the ghosts, the phantasmagoric elements are quite quickly explained away as being rooted in reality rather than anything supernatural. The castle itself is left behind in the story soon afterwards. Class and deference are certainly features of this book, but they are not ideas that are ever challenged by Parsons. A person's behaviour, however despicable, and for some of the aristocrats here, their behaviour is perfectly despicable, is unquestionably forgiven if they are part of that aristocracy. Our heroine, Matilda, turns down a marriage proposal because she feels she is quite literally unentitled to accept it. In a normal romance, you might expect tradition to be bucked, for people to say, no, you are in love, you should follow your heart. But no, everybody praises Matilda for following this course of action. The ordinary people in this novel, the people without titles, seem to throw themselves into the service of those with titles unquestioningly. And the aristocrats don't question this either. The service of those around them is assumed or presumed. Even Matilda, who is not entitled, has been brought up to be so, and is very naturally giving orders to people she hardly knows, and people who have taken pity on her. Possibly this notion of people knowing their place is of its time. But also, in 1793, which I think was when this book came out, the times were changing. In fact, many of the French aristocrats in this novel would probably, by this point, have had an appointment with Madame Guillotine. There is not so much of a whisper of acknowledgement of the revolution in the air in these pages. Nationalities are a large feature here, and in Gothic literature of the time. Germany, Italy, Switzerland, with their worn-out castles and their petrified peasantry, are a fairy tale staple. They have those Gothic hallmarks. France, by comparison here, is depicted as a bastion of civilization, despite the fact that that ancient regime was falling apart by the time this book came out. Although the French way of doing things comes in for some criticism anyway. Civilized they may be, but it is also a place of intrigue, rivalry, petty scandal. Only Britain stands as a bulwark of common sense against all this continental nonsense. The characters retreat there and experience the British sense of fair play and knowing your place and deference and all of that hideousness. It's a difficult argument to make that this is a great book, but it does have a certain something. The overblown theatrical exaggeration of actions and heightened emotions means that there is very little time for introspection or getting sidetracked with character work. There is very little character development, but sudden volte-faces on the part of the characters will probably keep you on your feet. The ending, which I won't give away, is trite. It's unrealistic, but it's oddly satisfying. And if you were to believe in the moralizing instruction as to your behaviour, really the book could not have ended any other way. The character of Matilda is completely overblown. She is hyper emotional. Even some other characters within the book take her to task about this, but there is a lot of fainting and floods of tears at some truly terrible things that do happen, but also sometimes the slightest provocation. Many of the characters are suffering from a surfeit of sensibility. Gothic? Yes, absolutely. Horrific? No. Horrid? I'm undecided. There were certain points in this book where I really wanted to give the main character a stern talking to. I hadn't felt like that about a book since I read some Samuel Richardson 30 years ago. However, I don't regret reading it. I may come to regret deciding to read all of these, but hopefully this month I'll be continuing with Clermont, a different writer and a book twice as long. But until next time, bye.